The following program, Live and Learn, is made possible by Aging Partners. Find out more on their website.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live and Learn. I am your host, Jerry Renaud. We have a very special program for you today on Live and Learn. We're going to sort of change around our format just a little bit because we have such an important topic that we want to talk to you about today, and that is scams. So we are going to take the entire hour to talk about several different scams that are out there, ways that you can avoid those scams, give you some statistics and give you some advice how you cannot be scammed, because it seems like every day all of us get some sort of a text message, or we get some sort of an email, or we get a phone call, which is somebody telling us a tale. They are going to eventually ask for money, and what we want to do today is to make sure you don't give them any money and you don't get scammed. And we have a fabulous guest that is joining us today. It is Ryan Sothan from the Nebraska Attorney General's Office. Ryan, thank you for being with us. I always think that if you have a title that doesn't fit on a business card, you have to be very impressive. And your title is Outreach Coordinator at the Nebraska Department of Justice in the Office of the Attorney General. And that is impressive. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, and I think the better title might be traveling salesman. That's really my role for the office. I travel the state, all 93 counties, 244 school districts, but rarely do I get an opportunity as great as this, where we can spend a dedicated hour talking to our most vulnerable population in terms of Nebraska seniors. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, and I think we'll give you a little promo here. If somebody wanted to have you come out and talk to a book club or something, you're available, right?
Absolutely, and that can be any time of day, night, including weekends. You can access me directly or through our website. We'll be providing that information within this show.
Perfect, wonderful. Okay, well let's get down to it. Let's talk about the numbers in Nebraska, because I think they're interesting, because on one hand you go, well, that's pretty good, and on the other hand you go, well, maybe that's not so good. Where do we stand right now in terms of the rest of the country in scams?
Generally speaking, we're in good shape as Nebraskans. In terms of the previous 12 months reporting data, we rank out of the 50 states in terms of fraud complaints per 100,000 population, and that's a useful separator in terms of allowing us to compare large population states to small population states. We rank 44th overall.
Oh, wow.
So that's good positioning, but of concern to me and to the office is that in the prior 12 months we were 47th. So we've actually slid in a negative direction by climbing the stack rankings. You don't want to be number 1, 2, or 3.
No.
You'd rather be down at the bottom,
Sure.
as we are. We've gone from 47th to 44th, so something's driving that. And what appears to be driving that is the nation's number 1 consumer complaint, number 2 here in Nebraska, and that's identity theft. What we're seeing in identity theft is that we've gone from 44th in that specific category now to 38th. 38th is average because we're the 38th most populous state. But to climb 6 positions in the course of 1 year is very concerning. And so what's driving that? We believe that we now live in the era of the data breach. These large databases where our personal information is housed are routinely being hacked by professional scammers. Viewers might know this by receiving one or many data breach notification letters. So that is an item to be very cognizant of and to put prevention strategies in place. There are other elements that might be tied to some of the immigration-related issues. We have also seen a dramatic increase in fraudulent government support payment requests. So those 2 factors seem to be driving the identity theft, but I don't want to cause undue alarm. 38th in identity theft and 44th overall means that we're doing actually much better than average, and so I'm pleased with that. But I just want to keep people cognizant of what they can do to help us maybe fall down to 50th. That'd be nice.
Yes, that would be nice. Anything with the technologies that are seeming to be driving this as well, because when we've talked previously, there's been all kinds of things being done to try and protect the consumers and protect people from these kinds of things, and blocking phone calls, and we'll certainly
Yes.
talk about all of that, and never clicking on a link in a text message or an email that you don't know anything about. But anything in terms of technology that's making a difference?
The TRACED Act, which we've talked about in previous shows, the Telephone Robocall Abuse Criminal Enforcement Deterrence Act, has actually had a significant hand in reducing the number of unwanted calls. So the scammers are simply adapting and sending fraudulent text messages now. And so we've had a dramatic increase in the reporting of imposter scams that tend to be business opportunity scams. Perhaps we can talk about some of those. The fact that it comes to your phone, your personal phone, it seems very intimate and special, seems to be defrauding people at a higher rate than I would anticipate. Also, automated intelligence is out there to make some of the links on fraudulent websites, fraudulent text messages look very, very real. And so that's having a role and an increasing role. And we're worried about the ability to take voice prints now through just a few words. You can actually take a voice print now so that, let's say, the family emergency scam, otherwise known as the grandparent scam,
Yes.
can sound very much like your grandchild.
Interesting. Text messages, my wife got into one of these not that long ago, and it came from a friend of hers. So somebody had gotten in and stolen all of her contacts and had sent out this note saying, gee, I've had these issues, can you send me a gift card? And all of her friends had gotten this thing, and she had moved off to Iowa, so nobody had seen her for a while, and Sarah said, oh, gee, my friend needs some help. And I go, whoa, I don't think so. So you got to be careful of that as well.
You definitely do, and I can see how a message, be it a text message, an email, from someone that you know would be very disarming, and you'd want to comply. And so that can be very misleading, indeed. But the text messaging, the business opportunity scams, I think there's some substance for us to cover there.
Yes, I agree. One of the things that we want to put up here at the first part of the show, we'll put it up again at the last part of the show, is talking a little bit about what to do if you think you've been scammed, because all of a sudden you might go, oh boy, this doesn't seem quite right. I might have given them some information that I don't want to do. So we should at least talk about where they can go, phone number they can call. There's a couple of them, regular number and a toll-free number, and a really good website that they can go to as well.
Very good. Well, I would want to at least insert at the very top, if a crime has been committed, actual theft or abuse, we definitely want to encourage reporting to local law enforcement. But if you've been subject to a fraud or a scam and have a concern and want to report to help protect others, we definitely encourage you to contact our office. You can do so anywhere across the state, toll-free at 1-800-727-6432. In the local Lincoln, Lancaster County area, you can reach us locally at 402-471-2682. With either number, if you press option 1, that connects you to our Consumer Affairs Response Team, who is a trained group of consumer advocates and professionals that during business hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and with voicemail availability so that we can get back to you the next business day. Highly responsive, highly talented, and last year alone, returned $1.4 million in recovered funds to Nebraskans. So we're very happy and pleased with that performance. But you can also access the website, and on the website you can file a complaint, report a scam, gain additional information, and that website, dedicated to consumers, is Protect the Good Life, 4 words spelled as one, .nebraska spelled out, .gov. And we're proud of that website. We keep it routinely updated and refreshed. And so I would definitely check there, and always to report, especially if you're reporting on an evening or a weekend.
Yeah, it's really is a wonderful website. Not only does it have the helpful consumer links with recognizing and reporting scams and identity theft and how to avoid scam websites and all of those, but it also gives you some Nebraska government links that you can go into
Yes.
if you need to do that. Also has some federal agencies that if you think that would be helpful. So really lots of good information. We encourage people to go to that website and at least take a look at it and see what's there, just in case something happens and you need some more information.
We always want people to report. We are a reporting site. The issue may not be our issue jurisdictionally, but we will connect you to the appropriate local, state, or federal agency if we cannot help you. We want to be a connector. We want to be a resource. So please do come.
And there are some tips. We've talked about these in the past, but they're just sort of some common sense things to avoid the scams. The first one is to convince everyone to find a person that they can trust and talk things through. I think that is just so important.
Because of the reluctance to report, I encourage when I'm out on the stump speaking to groups to tell at least one other person, bring that one person in on your decision making, because studies have proven that when you ask someone for their input and opinion, the classic two heads being better than one, that you reduce the potential of being defrauded by 2/3. So it doesn't eliminate, but it significantly reduces, and I think our marketplace could use a substantial reduction in their fraud exposure. So by all means, bring one other person into your confidence. It will definitely help.
Good. The second one, and I know you say this all the time,
All the time.
but don't get in a hurry. You don't have to make a decision right now, send money right now, click on a link right now. Pause and think about it.
There's always time. The scammers are very good at creating a sense of urgency and driving an emotional impact where you're filled with worry, fear, concern, and so you're acting irrationally, emotionally, and having to do something not now but right now. They're driving that behavior. So take the time, take a deep breath, tell one other person, pause, check with your grandchild to see if they're really
Right.
in danger or not. But yes, there's always time.
Right. And if you have any doubts, and we should be skeptical in today's world.
I think we need to be, unfortunately.
We should have some doubts, and if they have some doubts, boy, talk to somebody else or call your office.
By all means.
And the last one, if it seems too good to be true,
It
it
probably
almost
is.
certainly is.
If we have no other impact than having that tattooed figuratively in the mind, we will have succeeded.
Yeah, very good. Okay, let's talk about some scams. Here, there are a couple of, I guess one of them is a fairly new one. I had not seen this one before, and the other one I understand is kind of an oldie that's coming back now. But the first one is, and this really raced through Lincoln and the Midwest, was you get a text message saying that you ran through a toll booth and you owe the money.
What's ironic is that we're seeing a resurgence of this complaint, which really first appeared on the scene about this time last year.
Okay.
We even released a press release on it so that people would not fall victim to the scam. But it comes to you typically via your smartphone. And again, that personal connection and sense of intimacy that they're reaching out to you with a warning. And that warning is to asking you to call this number or click on this link. And then threats can be made that you have a fine, that you've ignored the fine, and that the consequences of not paying the fine can be a suspension of your driver's license or a bench warrant for your arrest. And the fine might be nominal, and you're saying this isn't me, but you might pay it just to have it go away.
And what happens when you pay it? Because it's not very much, but do they then have access to some more information?
The problem is that this is actually a symptom of a much larger or broader category of scam, the business opportunity scam. Other examples where you are encouraged to click on a link or make a call might be such things as fraudulent package delivery notices. You're hearing from FedEx or UPS about a missed package delivery, and they won't deliver again until you contact, rearrange, and pay a convenience fee.
Yeah, we get that one a lot.
It might be a bank notice that something is wrong with a transfer, a withdrawal, a deposit. Call this number or confirm this transaction. Anytime you're clicking on a link or even just typing a Y for yes or an N for no, more than likely you're going to hear directly from the scammer themselves. And that's where they're going to lay thick with the sense of urgency and the threat that gets you emotionally driven and connected to taking action. But because of artificial intelligence, they're now creating websites that are so authentic looking that your sense of disbelief evaporates and you're thinking, oh, this must be real. How do I eliminate this threat?
Yeah, they can make it look like it's Amazon sending you an email, or they can make it look like it's your bank that's sending you an email or something.
They
it's a little scary.
I agree.
Yeah, so we got to watch that one. The other one is, and for some reason, I must be on their list because I get a phone call and they'll leave me a voice message because I have the call blocked. It says, you owe some back taxes, but we can help you out. And normally it is this very nice, pleasant female voice, and she gives me both first name and last name, and we want to help you out.
Well, this does create a sense of fear and urgency, no matter how nice the attendant may be, because the tax man always comes due and seeking payment. And so there's a sense of fear and urgency, again, suspending a driver's license, suspending a passport, levying a significant fine, potentially suing or arresting you.
Right.
We even have immigrants who are threatened with deportation, believe it or not. So first of all, know that the IRS or anyone who is claiming to assist the IRS doesn't make proactive telephone calls.
Right.
You will be notified up front in writing. And then if you have a question or concern, you can always contact an IRS office in your jurisdiction, in your neighborhood. We have one here in Lincoln down at the Federal Building. And if this becomes complicated and you have a real concern about interfacing with a federal agency, I do not want to discourage people from contacting their federal delegation. So I'm talking about your U.S. Senator or U.S. Congressman, because they have constituent services directors. And one of those directors is able to interface with a federal agency, one dedicated to the IRS, another to the Social Security Administration, a third to the VA or Veterans Administration. You can always use them as a point of contact in terms of validating, is this story true?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. We want to talk about romance and we want to talk about cryptocurrency, but we need to take a break. We'll be back with Ryan in just a short while. Don't go away.
My kid has been asking for this hot new gaming thing, and I was like, okay, he had a birthday coming up anyway. So I finally find the video game online, in stock. Thing is, it was from this shoddy website full of typos. That's when I remembered a tip I got from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Bogus website, this is a shopping scam. Got us matching t-shirts instead.
Recognize fraud sooner,
He loves his.
so your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Welcome back to Live and Learn. I'm your host, Jerry Renaud. We have a very special guest with us today who is taking up the whole hour, and that is Ryan Sothan from the Nebraska Attorney General's Office. And we are talking about scams and how you can avoid those scams. A couple of scams in this segment that we want to talk about, which one can kind of lead into the other. The first is romance scams, and then the second one is how we're dealing with cryptocurrency at this point in time. We have a very interesting video that we would like to share with you. It's from AARP about romance scams. If we could roll that right now.
Looking for love in all the right places? Like popular dating sites, mobile apps, and social networking sites? Ron seems like a perfect match for you. He's thoughtful and says he can't live without you. He says he's from the U.S. but works out of the country. He says he wants to visit but says he can't afford it. He asks you to send him money. Last month it was medical bills for his sick aunt. This month, he needs money to fix his car. Next month, who knows? Ron wants your money. Don't send it. The person pretending to be Ron is a scammer. He'll tell you anything to get you to wire cash right away. He'll never run out of excuses. If an online love interest asks you for money, walk away, no matter how compelling the story. Report scams at ftc.gov/imposters.
So Ryan, it's just heartbreaking to see these people going through this, and I just think that the people on the other end of the phone are just so despicable to be playing on people's emotions, to be able to do that. And the one thing that you and I have talked a lot about with the romance scams is the fact that these people are isolated, and that's what sort of leads into believing this person at the other end of the line.
That's exactly right. The number one factor in the victimization of a vulnerable adult, especially a senior, is isolation and loneliness. So, combined with the fact that any type of stigma to finding relationships online has been removed. That's been wiped clean. I think COVID helped actually drive that stigma away. And society itself is encouraging our older population to put a toe in the online dating waters. Can't hurt. You don't need to find a replacement for a spouse. Maybe you just need to find a friend, someone of shared interests. And so there are websites that you can go to, and perhaps with the help of your child or grandchild, you have a profile, and you might be pessimistic as to when you might hear from someone, if you might hear from someone, and you're delighted, you're pleased, you're surprised even that someone maybe swipes right or reaches out via DM, direct message, that day, certainly within the week, and they express a sincere interest. They come on with an intensity, with flattery, and before you know it, you've got that oxytocin high that you probably haven't felt since you were a teenager or in your early 20s.
Right.
And you're believing everything that they have to say. And there's
sometimes it isn't even on a dating site. I mean, as we talked earlier, sometimes it can just be a phone call or a text message or something from somebody that you don't know, and so you respond back and say, gee, you have the wrong phone number, you need to double check that, or you talk to them on the phone and all of a sudden it's this nice voice and gee, can I call you or can I message you in some fashion?
Exactly. Oh, I'm sorry, I have the wrong number.
Yeah.
You seem nice, and then they engage you in a conversation. Or it can be a Facebook friend request. But whatever the method, they cultivate their relationship, and there's a short-term play and there's a long-term play. The short-term play tend to impact women more than men. Long-term, almost all of the cases that I've dealt with, males are the victims. But in the short-term play that's impacting women, you're gravitating towards a meeting. And just prior to that meeting, maybe you're having a romantic 3-day weekend, you get a telephone call from this online love interest, and they have a hard luck story. They have an excuse as to why they won't be able to meet. And they're going to have to temporarily move funds that they were going to use to come and squire you to address this short-term emergency. And you might even volunteer to help, or they might ask you to help. And because the trust relationship has been established, you, maybe against your better judgment, comply and you send the money. Sadly, you oftentimes never hear from that person again. Or if you do, they come back and they repeat the offense with more intensity and a higher money ask. So that's one level of offense. And whether it's the short-term play or the long-term play, I just want consumers to know that there are things that they can do to validate whether or not this online love interest is for real or not. I encourage anyone to always ask early in the developing relationship for a FaceTime or video chat. There are any one of a number of ways that you can do this. We all know how to Zoom, you can FaceTime on an iPhone, you can Google Meet, but there are ways to engage in face-to-face contact. The online love interest, the relationship that you've cultivated, will always be evasive. They will never comply with the request. The other is that you can do what's called a reverse image search. You can take their profile picture, copy-paste, drop it into a search engine that searches by image, and you might be able to find that, my goodness, this dating profile exists on 10 other platforms under 10 different names, or
Right.
perhaps it's an image that has been clipped from a modeling agency, it's stock photography, etc. So that's on the short-term play.
Yeah, and that, again, easiest thing in the world today, to do a FaceTime or to do something to make sure that that's a real person that is out there and not just a photograph or somebody.
Way and has enriched me beyond my wildest dreams, I'd like to offer you the same opportunity. And it's an introduction into exotic trading around cryptocurrencies. And this has become of great concern because the losses on the short term, with the women especially, might be, in the thousands to tens of thousands. The cryptocurrency scams are 6 figures and beyond. It's very easy to see $100,000, $250,000, $500,000 loss due to crypto. And so my first maxim, maybe going back to the first segment where we went through 3 or 4 of them, is don't buy what you don't understand. Cryptocurrency is complicated.
I'll say it is. I have no idea how it works, and yet they are very good about, I'll help you through this.
That's exactly right, Jerry, and that is something that the consumer should be on the lookout for. When you're dealing with someone that you've never met, you've only known them online, and they become highly specific and detailed about a form of payment, and they might direct you to a cryptocurrency ATM at a specific address of a convenience store or a grocery store in your local market, let that be a red flag, because there are ATMs that make this process very, very easy so that you don't have to understand. You can insert your debit card and it can do the conversion for you.
Right, and they are right here in Lincoln, Nebraska and the surrounding areas.
There's over 20,000 of these ATMs nationwide, and the recent statistic that I saw is that consumers, any consumer, you, me, live no more than 5 miles from a crypto ATM.
Wow.
So it's easy to get to. But watch out, because when you're making these transfers, first of all, there's a very high fee extracted. It's about 13%. Then there's a transaction fee, which can vary in terms of a percent or more. So you're losing money just for the convenience of sending the funds via this form of digital currency. They also create fake websites. They show you that the counseling, the opportunity that they've put in front of you has paid off in a large dividend financial bonanza windfall. You believe the phony charts and performance, and they say, well, on that basis of a $10,000 investment, can you imagine what would happen with $100,000? And so it tends to snowball, and you're chasing these abnormally high rates of return that really have no foundation in reality. You're being sold a bill of goods by this person that you're now romantically attached to and trusting to have your best interests at heart, when you're really nothing more than a pigeon, and they are defrauding you
And
every
in
step
some
of the way.
cases, don't they actually show that you've made some money?
Oh, they do indeed.
A little bit, and then they come back with, now you've made some money, let's reinvest it and let's put it into some real money here.
That's exactly right. And they will have charts. They will have numbers that are indicating that you are now wealthy. The challenge is converting that paper or online cash into real cash
Yes.
into your bank account.
I don't know how that works.
And then it becomes very, very complicated, because typically what they're doing is your love interest has passed you off to their investment advisor, who's an even more professional scam artist. And they are...
And meanwhile, you're still talking to this other person, having this relationship with them and thinking that she or he is doing wonderful things for you with this investment counselor.
That's exactly right. And they're leading you to the Coinbase website or to the, there are Luno website, when it's actually a creation of the scammers. It mimics the real thing, but it's phony. And if you go in
Like that.
It is embarrassing, but these are professional scam artists. I want all of our viewers to know you are not alone.
Yeah. Maybe we have an interesting video on crypto. Why don't we go ahead and play that? Maybe that'll give some people a little better understanding of maybe how it works, and that will take us into our next break as well. We will be back with Ryan Sothan from the Nebraska Attorney General's office to talk more about scams. Let's watch this video and then take a short break.
Cryptocurrency investors see dollar signs these days with the promise of big returns. But with those potential returns comes the possibility of losing everything in a crypto investment scam. Every year, these scams rob investors of billions of dollars. Here's what you should know about crypto investment scams. They take many forms. A common tactic is when a scammer offers you the opportunity to make money using your cash to buy virtual cryptocurrency. How does this happen? Like in many scams, it starts with building trust step by step. Scammers love to send random text messages. It's a common entry point to gain access to unsuspecting people. And that's all it takes for a random text to become a discussion, which becomes a friendship, which becomes a trust relationship, which often leads to a life-shattering scam. The next step for the scammer is to show an enticing or luxurious lifestyle. This new friend will make it clear they are living the high life with money, vacations, cars that they bought with their crypto earnings. Anything that shows you can get rich too. They'll show you how to set up your own account and how to access a crypto exchange. They may start by encouraging you to invest small amounts, and the scammer may even let you make withdrawals. As the con continues, they encourage you to invest more and more of your hard-earned cash. Before you know it, you may have invested thousands of dollars or more. When you decide it's time to take your earnings out, you find out you can't. You may be told you have to pay a high tax, perhaps thousands of dollars, on your earnings before you can access them. This is often when communication with the scammer stops. And that's when the harsh reality hits. It's been a scam from the start, and all your money is gone. It can happen to anybody, but the best way to fight this crypto fraud is to always do your research before you invest. Be wary of guarantees of high returns with low risk. Make sure you understand what the investment is all about before you give anybody your hard-earned money.
Hello, welcome back to Live and Learn. I'm your host, Jerry Renaud. We are talking with Ryan Sothan this hour. He is from the Nebraska Attorney General's office, and we are talking about scams and how you can avoid scams. One of the big ones, and we talked about this a little bit in our opening segment, is identity theft. And identity theft seems to be going in the wrong direction in terms of the number of scams and the people that are getting scams. And it can be a dangerous one because you can lose all kinds of things. And what a battle it is to try to get that identity back in some cases.
It can erode the foundation of your financial house, and so it's a very serious concern. It's the nation's #1 consumer complaint, has been for 25 years, #2 here in Nebraska, and it basically occurs when somebody obtains your personal identifying information, otherwise known as PI. We consider that to be your social security number, your bank account information, your date of birth, and other factors. But they use it largely for purposes of financial fraud and theft. Chief amongst the financial fraud and theft is applications for fraudulently obtained credit cards. That's the real driver.
And you know, we give out this information all the time. I mean, you can't buy an airline ticket. You can't without giving your information. I mean, you can't do things without putting your credit card numbers in there. So it always worries me when I do that, but they always say, well, this is guaranteed. We're not getting, this information isn't going anywhere else, and yet it does sometimes.
It's a legitimate worry and concern. Just think of how much information about you is resident on your phone now.
Oh, yes.
And then, as I mentioned at the top of the program, data breaches are occurring at a substantially higher rate during this decade than at any time prior. And so when you consider the mass databases where our information is housed, and that can be at your financial institution, it can be through your healthcare provider, it can be through a retail outlet. The hackers know that those are treasure troves, and they are making entreaties on a daily basis to try to get in and obtain that information. And they're succeeding, unfortunately. So anytime that a Nebraska consumer, so much as one Nebraska consumer, has had their data disclosed through a breach, the Attorney General's office is to be notified. Furthermore, consumers are to be notified, and they're to be notified through what's called a data breach notification letter. We probably have consumers who have received more than one in the past year alone. There was a big healthcare company by the name of Change Healthcare that had a data breach that occurred last year. It impacted 190 million Americans.
Now, because I've gotten one before that says part of whatever it was breached, and it's possible
Yes.
that yours was in there.
Yes.
I mean, is that even a clue or a red flag that you better do something?
They're following a standardized format for a data breach notification
Okay.
letter. Consumers are to be informed of what happened, how it happened, what may or may not have been disclosed, but where you might be vulnerable, and then what form of restitution or protection is the company offering you. Very often they are conveying that they will give you a free year or two of credit monitoring, for example. They'll encourage you to take out a fraud alert or a security freeze. And to that end, if you receive a data breach notification letter, the first two things that I would do, and by extension, our office is recommending, is first, order your credit report. You can do so for free, annualcreditreport.com. That is the site managed by the 3 large credit reporting agencies nationally, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion.
And it's a simple thing to do.
It's a very simple thing to do. You can probably have it in 5 minutes. But why you order that credit report is there's a section within the credit report that is recent inquiries for credit in your name.
Oh.
So typically, if your information has been disclosed and a scammer is in possession of that, within 24 to 72 hours, they're using that information to obtain the fraudulent credit card or bank loan or bank account. So you want to check for recent activity. Hopefully you'll find none. And if you do find none, then the best thing that you can do is to freeze that credit report. That's a directive that says nobody has access to your report without your prior knowledge and permission. In fact, we would like to see the default state of everyone's credit report be frozen. Since it's free and since it's outstanding protection, the equivalent of name brand identity theft protection services that might cost $100 to $300 a year. For your 10 minutes per bureau or 30 minutes total out of your life, it's some of the most sound protection that you can take. So credit report, freeze the credit report, change your passwords. Right now we have passwords that seems to protect every account that we access across the country, and I know it's a pain. You might want to have a password manager to help you, or use a password generating tool which you can obtain for free, or a fun one that I like to use is passwordmonster.com. But change your password. The websites now are kind of belt and suspendering your access to your account, so that you'll change your password and then they'll offer a second password. It's known as a 2FA or second factor authenticator, sometimes known as a multi-factor authenticator. And that could be an answer to any one of 3 security questions that you pre-select in advance. Or the ones that I really like are where they send you a one-time 6-digit code. And they can send it to your landline or they can send it to your cell phone. And then you supply on the website that 6-digit code back, and it grants you access. That's actually a very secure form of authorized access to your account. The scammer might have your password, they won't have that second factor authenticator.
Right, and what do you do with people like me who are terrible, who go, oh wow, I got a good password and I can remember it, it's on everything.
As long as you don't use it on everything, have a password that's easy to remember. Right now the 12-character password seems to be the norm, moving to 15. You can also think phrases, but a helpful hint is to drop in an odd symbol or 2. I have found in using passwordmonster.com, where I try to encourage consumers to get a password that would withstand a brute force attack by a scammer of 100 years, 100 years, that if I drop in the hashtag, what we used to call the pound sign,
Yep.
and I maybe separate words that I'm using with that hashtag or pound sign, it's amazing how much stronger my password can be. So think uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and symbols. Symbols are above the numbers on your keyboard.
Yeah, and mine has all of that in there, but I go, oh, okay, I'll just use this one, and I'm hopeful it's not on bank account, getting into look my online banking or doing any of that.
Use a
sort
fun
of
tool,
thing,
but treat your password like your toothbrush. Choose a good one, don't share it, change it often.
Yeah, great idea. So we've got freeze your credit report, change the password, enable a second password, and the one that I don't think we've talked much about is monitoring statements, including the shredding of the old after the new statement arrives.
Yes, we used to be keeping our documents, goodness, for up to 7 years on tax returns. Just about everything today is digitized, and you can feel safe and secure, especially with credit card statements and most banking statements, that as soon as the new one comes in, you can shred the old. And increasingly, banks and other financial institutions are moving us to electronic delivery of those forms for increased security, decreased costs, if you will.
Right.
And that might be something for you to consider. If you're shredding, make sure that you have a good micro-cut shredder. Those used to be expensive. Those have come down since we've been doing these shows together. I think you can probably get one for $99 or less that will make the small, irritating confetti size pieces. But yes, shred your documents, but always monitor your statements, especially if you've been informed of a data breach. You'll want to check for unauthorized activity in your accounts.
I'm very paranoid these days. Anytime I even get something that has my address on it, I put it in the shredding pile. I don't even put it into the just the recycling to try to do that, which I think is a good thing. Most people are going to go, wow, this is not going to happen to me. The FTC says 1 in 3 Americans could have their identity stolen during their lifetime.
Oh, easily. Easily, and if it's a data breach, it goes to probably 1 in 2. So you want to be vigilant, you want to take the steps, you want to have the default state of your credit report be frozen, and to take this seriously. This is really the nation's #1 consumer complaint. We're a little bit better here in the state of Nebraska, but that's no reason to be complacent.
Yeah. Again, we've talked about the complex passwords, the two-factor authentication. Secure your Social Security card. That's one thing that they're always looking for, but you should never give that out, should you?
Well, you should not be carrying it on your person, to
Really?
be sure.
Oh,
No.
I have mine.
Oh, really? Okay,
I
because
do, and I don't, not sure why.
Well-
but that's is good advice.
it's a linchpin, because with your date of birth and your Social Security number, I may be able to successfully order your credit report. But everything links off of that Social Security number. Not only your government benefits, but your credit report is also tied to
okay.
your
It's good to know.
Social Security number. So if anyone asks for your SOCH, I would like viewers to challenge. Why do you need that? Will it be shared? If so, with whom? What steps are you taking to prevent the unwarranted, unwitting disclosure? And may I have a copy of your privacy policy, please? Because if there is disclosure, you are to be notified in terms of what the limits are on sharing that information, and with the opportunity to opt out if you'd like.
Cool. Check your mail every day to protect against mail theft. How would you know if you're...
Well, we had Husker tickets taken out of our mailbox.
You
and so,
did?
So
My.
if you look at what some of the common causes of identity theft are, mail theft is one of them. But one of the statistics that I like to share, and this came from a identity theft specific research firm in the Bay Area, is that 1/3 of all identity theft cases involve an immediate family member or direct relative, and then 18% of the time it is a friend, a neighbor, or an in-home employee. So that's half of all identity theft right there. Then we can look at co-workers and businesses that we frequent, and we get up to 2/3. So the opportunity to have our information stolen is not always from a stranger. But definitely having your mail stolen is a popular technique, and pickpocketing, purse snatching, why you don't carry your Social Security number on your person, is still one of the primary ways that information, personal information about you, can be stolen and used. So we have to be very careful.
Billing cycles, making sure your bills and financial statements arrive regularly. You know, we have auto pay on a lot of things, and we got a notice the other day that, I mean, not even thinking about it, but we had a credit card stolen, and so we had to get it replaced, and we have a different number, and so then it didn't pay the bill.
If your bills aren't coming on their regularly scheduled interval, be very concerned. Make a call and inquiry, because perhaps it could have been stolen. The mail that scammers like to remove from your mailbox tends to be the pre-approved credit card or insurance solicitation. And they can say, yes, I accept the card, but I've moved, here's my new address. And so all of a sudden you're not seeing
Right.
a familiar bill or a new bill, or why something's appearing on your credit report, or what have you. So yes, always monitor that your statements are coming in on a regular, timely interval.
And monitor your credit card statements as well, because I think sometimes we get complacent
By all means.
about that.
By all means, don't take for granted that it's accurate. Please review and just, I have somewhere I thought I've been defrauded, and it's just that I've forgotten. But you might see a large charge or bunch of charges tied to a specific day, and if your credit card company isn't immediately calling you to say, is this you? Then you need to be that primary monitor and notify the card company of the fraud.
Yeah, my credit card companies will do that, which is nice, through the bank. They will let me know if there's been any kind of activity on there. They will at least want to double check, and I appreciate that. Sometimes it was me, and sometimes it's not me. So
timely notification is key. Regulations Z and E protect consumers against card-related fraud, and your loss liability can be zero as long as you're timely with a notification.
Right. Okay, good stuff. We don't want our identity stolen. right?
Correct.
Okay, good. We need to take one more quick break. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Don't go away.
Yet another data breach is making headlines, and this time, your information is exposed. What should you do? First, take a deep breath. Then, visit identitytheft.gov/data breach. You'll learn what specific steps to take. For example, if your social security number was exposed, you'll want to order your free credit reports and check for accounts you don't recognize. If a company affected by a data breach offers you free services, like credit monitoring or identity theft insurance, take advantage of it. You also might want to place a credit freeze or fraud alert. That'll make it harder for an identity thief to open new accounts in your name. If you find that someone is using your information to commit fraud, identitytheft.gov can help you report that too. Find out how to recover from a data breach at identitytheft.gov/data breach.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Live and Learn. I'm your host, Jerry Renaud. Fascinating conversation today with Ryan Sothan from the Nebraska Attorney General's Office as we look at how scams are affecting the state of Nebraska and how you can avoid them. One of the ways that scammers tend to get to us is through the telephone. And Ryan, we have some ways that we can protect ourselves by not getting these phone calls and blocking these phone calls, and we can do it with any cell phone, most cell phones, I guess. We can do it with the landlines as well. Let's let people give them at least a quick thought of how, if they have not, they can block those unwanted calls.
Towards the top of the show, I talked about a new federal program called the Traced Act,
Yes.
and that was addressing this spate of unwanted calls, and it's had a dramatic impact in reducing those calls. But it also specified techniques that your carrier and your phone manufacturer can provide consumers that will address these concerns on an individual case basis. The carrier-based products are now free apps. You know how there's an app for everything.
Oh,
now.
yes.
They are private labeled, so they're branded by your telephone company. If you're a Verizon user, theirs is called Call Filter. If you're an AT&T user, theirs is called Active Armor. And there are names for every phone company's, large or small, unwanted call blocking app. Inquire, go to the App Store if you're an iPhone user, or the Play Store if you're an Android user, download and install. Then
Yeah, you just have to be careful. It says free, but because I did this last night, and there is
Very
a
good.
spot on there where they will want to charge you.
you might want to make sure that you have a tech-savvy family member or friend help you.
Yes.
But then look to your phone itself. Your phone now has what we call native features, built-in features on the phone.
Yes.
That can address, if this is a telephone number that is not in your contacts, for example, it can silence your ringer so that you are never bothered by a scam caller.
And
There's
I love that.
Unique process for the iPhone and the Android. I think we have a graphic that will be on the screen to show
We do.
how.
Here is the Android one right now.
The key point there on the far left phone grab, in that upper right-hand corner, there's 3 dots that are stacked. I call that an ellipsis. You simply touch that ellipsis and then it opens a sub-menu. That's what we have there in the second from the left screen grab. That's where you access your settings. Touching settings, you go to block numbers, and that gives you the 4th screen on the right. You simply toggle or move to the right.
Yes.
That switch that says block calls from unknown numbers.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it is very simple.
It is
to be
extremely
able
simple.
to do that. And again, it blocks everybody that's not in your contact list. It is a wonderful feature.
But you'll never lose the call because let's say it's somebody important who inadvertently got blocked because they weren't a contact. They still have access to your voicemail, and they're always recorded in your call history.
Yes.
So you'll have a way to recover, or if it's a friend that you inadvertently blocked, you can add them to your contact and they'll never be blocked again.
Yeah, and in some cases, it's somebody is going to call you. I think when I was doing the something. They were going to call me. It must have been Social Security, and they gave me the number, and I thought, well, I took my block calls off, so I knew it was going to come at a certain time. So you just have to be wary of that. But it does show up, and if somebody wants to leave a voice message, they can certainly do that.
They can. And then the iPhone has a very similar process as well, and we have a graphic on that, or we can help you by calling our CART team. Any one of us are versed on helping individuals of any age enable these features on their phone. There's also a process for landlines. It's not quite as handy, quite frankly. It works on a series of calling features. There are a handful of calling features that enable through star codes. That's the asterisk on your keyboard,
Right.
Or your touchtone pad. The one that I really liked and had to invoke for a number of people is selective call acceptance. And that's where you actually build a whitelist of permitted calls to ring through. If it's not on the whitelist, so it's not your immediate family, friends, trusted advisors, and other, the phone will not ring because the scammer or the third party will get a recorded voice announcement that says the number that you are dialing is not accepting calls at this time. And you're not connected, the scammer goes away.
Right. It is worth the effort.
Yes.
Even if you think you're somebody who's not very tech savvy, to go through this process and to block those unwanted calls.
And for the landline user, those calling codes are universal across all phone companies, border to border, coast to coast.
Yeah. Great stuff. We are out of time. Before we leave, let's at least give everybody where they can get some more information about this. You have a kit at your office that people can gather and go through.
Yes. You are welcome to contact our office at any of the numbers previously given or shown on the screen, 1-800-727-6432, or locally, 402-471-2682. And you can ask for one of our consumer protection kits. That's also available online at protectthegoodlife.nebraska.gov. Within the kit are two very important books that we have authored on recognize and report scams. Everything that we've touched on today is covered and more in that Recognize and Report Scams book. Then identity theft, since we want the default state of everyone's credit report to be frozen, and
Yes.
some people are saying, oh, that sounds very, very complicated. We lay it out in plain speaking language in our Identity Theft Consumer Guide. Then if you have questions over what we just reviewed in terms of enabling call blocking features on your phone, we include a flat that shows you how to do that on the Android, how to do that on the iPhone, and for your landline as well. And then we have a couple other goodies in there so that you always have our telephone number and website at hand. We mail it to you free of charge.
And if somebody really still struggles, you've got a great team. Somebody would be willing to help somebody go through some of these things.
Always happy to give a shout out to our Consumer Affairs Response Team. Please let them know that you learned of them through Live and Learn, and they'll be happy to help you.
Ryan, thank you so much for coming by. You are truly one of the unsung heroes, you and your staff, for the state of Nebraska. We are so happy that you are in that position that you are in, and thanks for taking some time to come by and talk to us today.
Thank you for always affording me the opportunity. Greatly appreciated.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in. I'm your host, Jerry Renaud. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and remember, it's never too late to live and learn.